the God of Thunder ever hopes to defeat Malekith the Accursed and end the War of Realms, he will need to reach through time and space for assistance. All this and more in the pages of Thor issue number 14. Let's hop on in together and find out what happens next, shall we? Hey now, so just because the War of Realms is done with issue number 6 doesn't mean we're going to be done with tie-ins just yet, and here we have probably one of the most fascinating ones from Jason Aaron himself. This tie-in story right here takes place before and during the events of the final battle with Malekith, told through the eyes of the impetuous young Viking Prince Thor, who, as we join him, is getting quite angry and quite discouraged that he can't lift Mjolnir. He can lift every other weapon in Asgard, but this one continues to bedevil him. Ultimately, the young Thor is recruited by the Fantastic Four and their time travel tech to go and join his older counterparts in the final push against the Dark Elves. In a nice bit of continuity, young Thor totally remembers his older counterpart as well as his modern-day counterpart, and even Jane. They had met in a crossover as well. Young Thor is hard to work with as per usual, wondering, hey, how is any of this my problem? I mean, it will be my problem in like 1 billion years or so. You guys are so old. Jane, the goddess of thunder, even makes a pretty interesting point to modern day Thor, saying that if he was just going to use the Fantastic Four's time travel tech to recruit any version of himself from across history, why these ones in particular? Heck, why even stop at these ones? As Thor the Avenger puts it, yeah, there's more powerful versions of himself scattered across history, even ones who would be better team players, but these 3 versions of himself have been drawn together. Their destinies intertwined ever since that last adventure with Gore the God Butcher, and he knows more than anything that this is the proper Thor core to defeat this evil threat, and I love that he calls it a Thor core too. Nice little callback to the events of Secret Wars. Now, if you read War of Realms issue number 6, then you probably got a pretty good understanding of how this battle went. Thor the Avenger dealt with Malekith, while the other 3 ran interference. What you didn't see, though, is what actually went down with young Prince Thor. You see, he runs headlong into battle, not thinking that being the youngest one in the timeline, if he gets injured, his older counterparts feel that pain, and if Malekith is to kill him, he'll just stop Thor from existing. In fact, he probably would have died if Jane wasn't there to run interception. Man, you know, when you stop and think about it, using time-displaced versions of yourself might not exactly be the best policy. What are you, the Reverse Flash? Not wanting to be seen as useless and wanting to carry his weight on the battlefield, young Thor pulls back to try and lift King Thor's Mjolnir that he left aside. He still can't do it because his heart is not pure, his mind is not in the game, and he is still unworthy. That is, however, until he hears the screams of his mother Freya, who as it stands right now is still the prisoner of Malekith and also being menaced by a terrifying symbiote monster of Malekith's creation. Young Thor gets ready to swing in the defense of the one parent who actually loved him even when he says he didn't deserve it, not realizing that when he does swing, he actually brings the hammer with him. Thinking about the betterment of someone else actually allowing him to become worthy in that moment, and this actually ends up having one hell of a butterfly effect because Avenger Thor also becomes worthy around this time, which eventually leads to him mastering the Godstorm and the big finale from War of Realms issue number 6. As the comic winds down, young Thor says that this may be the finest day in his life, not just because of what he did, but because he knows it's the beginning of many, many more fine days to come. And so that was Thor issue number 14, everybody, and I wasn't sure what to expect jumping into this issue, but ultimately I gotta say this was a really solid companion piece to the War of Realms finale. In fact, in many ways, it's a necessary component. And I hope when they collect this story and trade, they're sure to slip this one in there because it really does a nice job filling out the battle between Malekith and the Thors, as well as, in my mind, asking a lot of the hanging logical questions that a lot of fans had, like, hey, how come Thor didn't use time travel like this? Why was it only those Thors? Why did it feel like the battle with Malekith was over really quickly in the main series? Well, here you have this issue to explain all of that and more. It's also a nice little microcosm of everything Jason Aaron has been writing up to this point when it comes to Thor, what actually makes him worthy, and what do you do once you become worthy. Overall, I'd give this one an 8.5 out of 10. I don't know if you necessarily need it to enjoy all of War of Realms, but I thought it was some really good supplemental material.
Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not take a look at some of these other videos I have available from the channel. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, if you're feeling in a charitable mood, why not check out my Patreon page. Patrons get exclusive access to videos and content before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. So, until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I will be continuing to make more comic book videos that smack of greatness. Bye-bye.